The guy at the top, Matt Cullen, three-time Stanley Cup champion, joins us on NHL Tonight. You are a national treasure, three-time Cup winner. You were drafted by the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, which some people will be like, what? Yes, that's how it all started. And then I looked at your hockey reference, and it said your nickname was the Ageless Wonder. How does it feel to be a Hall of Famer, oh, Ageless Wonder?
Well, I appreciate it. It's cool. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's quite an honor. Obviously, like you look at the names on there, and it's cool to go in with that group. But yeah, very very flattering. Just quite an honor. It's hard to really put it into words, but yeah, it's great.
Hey, Cully, congrats. It's amazing. I was fortunate enough to be teammates with Cully for a little bit there in Minnesota. But just how many games you've played, the long career you've had. I mean, you played during a time where the game changed multiple times, and you had that great skating ability. But I kind of want to know, who was your guy growing up, right? Like, who was your American-born player that was the one you looked up to the most?
Yeah, probably that. That World Cup team was so. I think that was a big deal for a lot of us growing up in the U.S. Dougie Weight was always a guy that I always looked up to. I thought I wanted to play like his style. He was probably, when I was going through high school and college, he was a guy that I looked to as kind of somebody to emulate. But that whole World Cup team, you remember, was just such a big, I thought, like a big changing moment for hockey players in the U.S. Thinking, you know what, you could really get there and make a difference.
Best on best. What a remarkable story it was for '96. I think about what Rupert just mentioned, the number of games. We all know Chris Chelios played for 40 years in the league. You're number 2 among American-born players, most regular season games played. Your headshot, not the best. Your statistics, tremendous. Can you tell us what happened on picture day? You're a handsome man. What went wrong?
I don't know. Did you pick that one out, Rupper? That's awful. I don't know. I think that was maybe my second or third year. I think we used to do it like really early in the morning. So if I remember right, that was like a.
You were the first shift to get over there and do your physical.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with, anyways.
Good story. Rupp, you're up.
No, I love it. I love it. Hey, just you got to. I mentioned playing with you, and that was probably in 2014 time. And at that point, you've already played a ton of games in the league. But how special was your years in Pittsburgh, right? And that's all part of this story here too, right? Like, and it wasn't just a guy that was on the roster and this team won. Like, you played a huge part in this team getting back and winning some cups.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be having this conversation if I hadn't had the opportunity to come to Pittsburgh. Jim Rutherford brought me there late in my career, and I was coming off of 2 years in Nashville. Okay years, but nothing spectacular. And bringing me there and giving me that opportunity was something that made a huge difference for me, and I'll always appreciate. But yeah, those teams were, man, you go through something like this and you just think back on your favorite memories. And man, the teams that we had there in Pittsburgh and the time I spent there was second to none. Like, it was just some special stuff, and there were some special players and special people. So it's fun thinking back on that and going through those times of your life, because we had 3 young boys that were at the rink every day with me, and to have that experience going through it as a dad and as a player, and at that point in my career was pretty cool.
I want to follow up on Rupper's point, because you weren't just a guy that was added to be a veteran presence, even though your reputation's so stellar. Rupper and I talked during the Cup final. We were walking back to the hotel, and he said, notice how much Mike Sullivan trusts him. You were on the ice late in games when it was winning time. When you think back on those moments, what stands out?
Well, yeah, I mean, those big games were always so fun, and I loved playing for Sully. He was so good at helping guys find a role to grab onto, and he trusted you as a player to grab onto that role and be as good as you can be. And I think as a player, to have a coach that puts that kind of faith in you, that is something that makes such a difference and can give you so much confidence in the way that you're playing and in the way you go about your business. So it was those were such fun times. I think back on all those fun, close series, and all the, like I said, all the players that we had going through it with Sid and Gino, and of course Phil. We had a fun group, and yeah, but it was fun. I mean, like, for me at that point in my career, to be able to play a role and be an important part of it was so meaningful.
Do you ever, did young Matt Cullen ever think he was going to go in the U.S. Hall of Fame?
No, I can tell you that. No, honestly, growing up in Minnesota, and actually, I was born probably 5 miles down the road from the actual U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame, way up in northern Minnesota. But all I wanted to do was make the high school team. You know, it's kind of funny. That's kind of the mindset of a Minnesota kid growing up. You want to play in the high school team, and then I was lucky enough to play college, and then all of a sudden the pro game was there, and it was just one of those things that there's so many ups and downs in your career, and you're fighting to gain another season and gain another contract and stay in the league because it's fun. And before you know it, here I am. So it's been a pretty cool ride, and a lot of people come to mind that help you along the way. You know, at Rupper, there's just so many people that have to help you along the way, and there's so many ups and downs with it all. It's fun to be able to look back on it and appreciate those people at a time like this.
Can you share with us a name or two that come to mind right away when you think about your hockey journey and how you got to be a USA Hockey Hall of Famer?
Well, you think about your family first, of course. Like my dad coached me all the way through, and my wife put up with a lot of different moving, and she raised the 3 boys while we were playing. And you know, from a professional standpoint, Jim Rutherford's a name that, you know, he actually was the GM in all 3 cups that I was a part of, and brought me to all 3 of those places at times when I probably wasn't super highly sought after. He brought me to Carolina after some not great years in Florida, and he brought me to Pittsburgh after some not great years in Nashville. So people sticking their neck out for you like that along the way, the stuff you never forget.
I thought I was going to see your name popping up in Vancouver last year for Jim. We're going to bring you there. I mean, you look like the same guy I played with, so I'm not going to be surprised if it happens at some point.
Amazing. It's a joke, but then it's not a joke. If you win cups with a guy, you trust him, you keep going back. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're lucky if you go through your career and you develop a relationship like that. I had a similar relationship with Sully. You know, like when you have somebody that puts faith and trust in you, it's easy to just put everything you have into it, and often it's what brings the best out of players. And for me, that was the case.
Hey, can we get a quick update? I just know from your time in Pittsburgh, you mentioned your 3 boys. I'm pretty sure they all had pretty long hair, looked like just hockey players at the rink. You're on the ice with them all the time. Are they still playing? They playing good? How old are they now? And you're a rink dad all the time?
I am, yeah. I help coach the boys. My oldest is a senior in high school already.
Wow.
So
Wow,
yeah,
time flies.
Yeah, it's crazy. It goes quick. I remember them just little rugrats running around the rink, popping into the locker room, and here we are.
Their dad is a deserving Hall of Famer for USA Hockey. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.